As you can tell from those previous clips, there is a new car on the lift, and that means that there are new projects to be done in the shop. And for the first time ever, I will not be working on one of my personal vehicles. Instead, I'm going to be working on a friend of mine's car and helping to get his build one step closer to being completed. If you read the title of this video before you clicked on it, you already know what this car is. But what you don't know is the level of detail and effort that's already gone into this car. Every bolt that's been touched has been replaced. Parts have been repainted. If they came off the car and were able to get powder coated, they got powder coated. It's truly an insane amount of detail put into this thing already. And I'm going to be adding to it. And then there's still stuff that has to get done once I'm finished with it. So I'm going to talk through what I'm going to be doing to this car. And I'll also tell you guys where to keep following this car when I'm done with it, because I truly think that after I'm done with this video series, you guys are going to want to see the finished product and see where this thing finally ends up, because I truly believe that it is awesome and you guys are going to love it. So with that, let me show you some of the details that's already been completed to this, and I'll talk through what I'm going to be doing with it, and also where to keep following this once I'm done with it so that you guys can see the finished product. Stick around because I truly think you guys are going to love this. This is my friend Malik's E36 M3 sedan that is going through a massive transformation. The overall goal for this build is to have a car that looks like it was fresh off the BMW assembly line, but with one little twist. Granted, from the outside right now, it's hard to see past the blemishes, but the engine bay has already been repainted. All the undercoating has been completely redone, along with every bit of seam sealer on this car. And after I'm done with the car, it's also going to be completely repainted. Oh, and that little twist that I mentioned, yeah, that comes in the form of a bottom mount turbo kit, which is where I come into this story. While I have the car, I'm going to be fabricating the exhaust, wastegate piping, the cold side of the turbo kit, the oil drain line, and a few brackets for things, so this build will get broken up into a few episodes while it's in my possession. If you want to follow along with this build on social media after I'm done, and also while I have it, Malik occasionally puts out YouTube videos on his channel, Petrolic Garage, and posts a lot of content on his Instagram page, @Petrolic Garage, which I'll link in the description. So now that I've shown you a little bit of the car, let's talk about what we're going to be focused on in this episode. So today we're going to be looking at doing the exhaust on this car. So as you know, this car is now turboed. So we are going to be going from the turbo outlet all the way back into the muffler. So we're going to do some chopping on this too, but Malik gave this to me because he wanted to use it. So we're going to make the single outlet from the turbo go into the dual inlet of the muffler and get this all done. So in order to make that happen though, I have placed an order with Stainless Bros. So I go to for all of my stainless material to do exhaust builds. Unless it's oval, I go someplace else for that stuff. But we're gonna be doing 3-inch all the way back from the turbo to the muffler. Then we'll wire it out into the muffler and put some V-bands in between. We're gonna be running a resonator on this car to try and keep it quiet because that's what Malik wants. But before I get into fabricating the exhaust, I need to focus on getting the flange design for this bottom mount turbo exhaust manifold. I'm not sure what brand this turbo manifold is, or if pieces are even still available for it, but designing flanges is pretty simple, so I broke out the calipers and took some quick measurements for the stud spacing. With those written down on a sticky note, I then got out my computer and fired up Fusion 360 to do the design work. After some quick 3D modeling and creating a drawing, I turned over to doing my easy way of checking flat designs. I just print the drawings in a 1:1 scale and then cut it out with scissors to check the fitment and hole alignments. After going through that, they fit up perfectly, so I can order the flanges from Cut Sen to be cut out of 304 stainless plate, and now it's time to get started on doing the exhaust work. This first bend that's going to be coming off the turbo has too long of a straight portion to it, so I have to chop that down in the bandsaw first so it doesn't hit the body of the car. Then I can tack it to the other bend and the V-band flange off the turbo to get everything low enough to start building the exhaust back towards the rear of the car. So now with that tacked up in the car, this is the beginning. What we're gonna do, we're gonna transition to a flex coupler right there, just to try and keep the rest of the exhaust isolated from the motor movement. The other thing, and part of the reason that this is twisted as is, we're gonna put the wastegate, I think, right here. So with the wastegate right here, I can fit a 1.5 inch tube down from the top, and then I can snake the outlet of the wastegate over and down it into this tube right here and have it smooth transition right into the rest of the exhaust. And that keeps this up above the chassis line. So right here is basically the lowest point. So that's what I'm trying to keep everything above that. Obviously it's not great for this to be as close to the ground as what it is, but there's really no way to get it any higher. And if I showed you guys the old wastegate tube from whoever owned this turbo kit before Malik, how they had it run, put this thing like as the lowest point. So if you were gonna hit anything, you were gonna rip your wastegate right off, which we're not gonna do that. So now this gets more simple to get it back to the muffler, but we still got a bit of work to do to get there. I gotta snake around a few things because there's some brackets underneath this that hang low. So we're gonna get this tacked together to the back of the car and see how clean we can get that done, and then focus on actually doing the Y pipe to get the muffler back together. But so far, after, it took a bit to get to this decision to be able to have room for the wastegate, but after that, this should be fairly simple. So now we made it out of the turbo, down, put the flex joint in it. We have managed to stay above the frame rail the entire way, which has been awesome. But now I gotta get past this bracket, the rear transmission mount. And then from there, it's gotta go snake a little bit to the driver's side in order to start pointing towards the muffler. So don't pay too much attention to these because these are really gonna get cut off. I'm gonna cut the muffler somewhere back in this realm, maybe even further, and still build these bends by myself. But for right now, I got a piece cut that fits in here. It still has clearance, just enough clearance to get by that bracket. And then I'm gonna put a pie cut, maybe two, depends on how this all works out, to get this to start pointing in the correct direction. Sorry, I didn't mean to blind you guys there. in the correct direction to go over towards the driver's side. But so far, this has been going pretty well. I'm pretty impressed with it. So let's hope this trend keeps up and the rest of this is easy. I'm thinking that joining it up to the muffler is going to be the worst part of this, but we're going well so far. So if I can get at least to the flange today, that would be awesome. So let's see how much progress I can make. So day one progress, we made it pretty far. We got out of the turbo, down to the flex pipe, that is all tacked together. And then this is just resting in the flex joint for right now. I think it's pointing the right way to get in between this bracket and get to where the muffler piping is going to be. But as you notice, I took the muffler out actually. So we took the liberty of cutting the old bottle resonators off. This muffler is close to 2 1/4 inch pipe, so I'm going to try and work some magic to get that to line up in a better sense, because what we're going to be using to do that is I bought a X-pipe kit from Stainless Bros, so I'm just going to be using half of it. So that's what this is. It's pre-cut, pre-cleaned, all that fun stuff. So it'll be much simpler than me trying to do it myself, but that's going to be the next steps. I made the decision now to start working on the rear end and get it down to one singular pipe. And then, you know, connecting those two up in the middle is just putting straight tubing, maybe a pie cut to get stuff pointed the correct direction and the resonator in. So I figured it was more advantageous for me to take the time to start working on the muffler section and getting that cleaned up, ready to weld. So I'm going to work on that tonight, and then tomorrow pick you guys back up and hopefully get this all tacked together so that it's one system. And then after that, all we have to worry about is wastegate. So that's the plan. Hopefully pick you guys back up tomorrow, show you more progress on this car, and get one step closer to the finish line. Clearly, I skipped some steps here from what the last clip was of me cutting the resonators off of this, but I truly didn't want to bore you guys with watching me try and play with Legos, so to speak, and try and make this all fit together. So there's been a lot of cutting to this, a lot of welding. Quick summary of what's been done. Obviously, the Y pipe, that is from Stainless Bros, just weld it together. And then we had to weld a short section of 3-inch tube to it, because truly the outlet, or the inlet here, the end of the Y, was more of an oval than it was truly 3-inch round. So it was just easier for me to weld this section of tube in and then weld to the flange, rather than trying to weld the flange direct to this joint, just because it was a little bit cleaner. These were the 3-inch to 2-inch reducers on each side. Those are both cut at different locations in order to match up to the pieces that they go to. So from on this side, this runner, this is the OEM, or the aftermarket muffler tubing, cut back a little bit further than just cutting at the resonator. This piping is like 2 3/8. It's an oddball size. I think it's truly metric, or it's got some weird sizing to it out of being mandrel bent. And then these pipes here are 2 1/4 inch that I had laying around as spares because I needed to build something for in this gap. I could have tried and chopped up the old material off of what I cut off, but I didn't like the idea of welding old stuff to old stuff to old stuff to get to the new stuff. So I wanted to only have one joint of old to new and not a whole bunch of joints of old to old. So that's what this is. So this is cut at a kind of odd angle to match up with this line. This is cut at another odd angle to match up with how this was bent. Truly, it looks a little odd, and that's just kind of the nature of trying to join up to old stuff. I could have cut these back here and built all new runners. One, that would have been expensive. 2, it would have been a lot of work, and that's part of why it would have been expensive. So for right now, this is what we're going with. It might get changed in the future because I showed Malik has seen photos of this ahead of time. So we might end up changing it up long term, but for right now, it does the trick. So now there is one last cut to make, and that is to get the flange here, or truly to get this joined up to what's on the car. So there is a little bit of straight tubing needed. So now I'm gonna throw this back in the car. We're gonna measure real quick. We're gonna make one final cut, tack it all together, and then all that's left is to fully weld the front half of the exhaust, because right now that exists completely tacked. So yeah, gonna flip this around over to a time lapse, show you guys putting this monstrosity in, making those last few measurements, and then we're gonna have one completed exhaust to show you at the end of this. So unfortunately, this is one of those teachable moments now where I realize that previous me kind of screwed over later me. So I gotta go fix some things now, but I don't know how well you guys can see this, but this is the resonator going into the muffler. You can see the angle that it's pointing down towards the ground at. This tube over here is off the turbo, which I was trying to keep everything higher than the frame rail to try and maintain ground clearance. So what's ended up happening here is I fully welded this, and I shouldn't have. I should have left it tacked. I got overzealous, but now I need to cut this back apart and put a pie cut in here to pick this up and point this flat earlier so that this does not end up so low to the ground. I did some quick measurements to compare, and this is like a couple inches higher than what the lowest point of this is. And if I left this way and just made V-bands to, or not V-bands, made pie cuts to make this line back up, this would be the lowest point underneath the car, and I don't want that. So gotta go backwards to go forward, unfortunately, and fix this, but I'm gonna cut this apart, tack a pie cut into it, and play with it before committing to welding all of this together. So kind of sucks, but for anybody out there, let this be a lesson to you. Leave everything tacked until you're 100% sure that it's not going to change, because I thought it wasn't going to change, and now I'm learning that it is. So let's get moving. So more progress has been made, and we are on the home stretch now of the exhaust build for this car. So let me climb underneath it and show you guys what we got. So this has basically stayed the same since the very beginning. So we got the 2 bends to get the exhaust down low into the flex pipe. That stuff has been tacked together for a while. And then we have this pipe coming out of the flex pipe, clearing the transmission cross member into a pie cut to then kick the exhaust towards the driver's side. And then we keep going back. We got it tacked to the resonator. And then this is the pie cut that we had to add into this to be able to get this to kick up properly. And then into the Y, which then reduces down to the OEM, or really the aftermarket muffler pipe size. And then we get back here. And the exhaust tip fitment in the rear bumper is money, in my opinion. So really worked out well. Now got to take the time to fully weld that in, but I didn't want to bore you guys with watching me weld for probably 20 minutes if I chopped all the footage up together. So I wanted to show you guys kind of the finished product here. We're not going to get into doing the wastegate pipe. That'll be the next episode on this car. I'm thinking that I'm going to do some work on the Mark II transmission first to kind of break this up a little bit, that I'm not posting E36 content every single other week. So trying to break up the videos a little bit here. But that's the completed exhaust. As I've said previously, learned a lot as far as when to commit to welding something and when to just leave stuff tacked. I should have left stuff tacked longer than what I did, but that's the unfortunate part of, you know, getting more experience and understanding, you know, what to do and what not to do. So we are going to weld that all up now, and I'm going to try out my Furic weld cups for the first time ever on this. So we'll see if my welds come out prettier. I will put just a quick clip in at the end to show you what the difference may be if they do look nicer. So we'll see how that comes out. But that's pretty much going to end off this video. I will do one quick clip of the exhaust all fully welded together. But I hope you guys enjoyed the introduction here and what we've done so far. And I hope you're looking forward to seeing more things that I'm going to do on this car. So wastegate pipe is coming up next. Then after that, we'll move on to working on the cold side of the turbo. So that'll be, you know, from the cold side housing basically to the intake. So intercooler, all that fun stuff. So it'll be a lot of aluminum welding. It'll be a different experience for me. So that's pretty much going to wrap that up here. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll see everybody next time.